Check, 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 check. Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. We're booting up for the pre-event now here, 2 o'clock. Please join us at the stage area. Those of you who want to, of course. Hope to see some of you. And as always, it's like, people are showing up slowly and they're getting in from all sorts of places in the world. And exactly. So, yeah. Okay, let's go. So, welcome everybody. Under the theme of hacking the gap, we will examine how to customize workflows, open APIs, and innovative digital situations, and how that is shaping the future of sustainable design, engineering, and construction. We are not doing this on our own. We're doing this together with CD&D Copenhagen Design Network of Denmark. It's a misspelling underneath there. Don't mind that one. And I want to thank you, Mikkel, for being the representative from CD&D to set all of this up. It is so cool that your network have so many brilliant minds to make such cool things like these. So thanks a lot for your engagement in this. I want to just quickly tap into the program here. So you see the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And of course, we'll start with the pre-event that is now, where we will have the opportunity to delve into a keynote. We have a workshop. We have the funding landscape together with Antler. And we also do have some panel debates going on. And of course, we do end the pre-event with the Tech Award Show, recurring tradition that we have here on Blocks Up doing these events. After a quick break, we will go into the main event at 6 o'clock. I don't want to explain too much about that now. We'll do that later when we reach to it. So for the panel debate, it's moderated by Mikkel Armbjørn together with Gabriella Rossi from the Royal Academy. We have Julie Corneliusen. She is joining from ABC Engineers, and Andreas Sørensen from Rambøll. Thank you so much for taking your time to be part of this. Again, you're really contributing to the community and to the, the whole movement around whatever we do here, right? The Tech Award Show is hosted by HD Lab, and it's done together with Contech and DI Byggeri in this connection. HD Lab has been doing this again and again, and we want to highlight the most sustainable techs, the best new AI technology of the year, the best design and build technology, and most nerdy company. I think my actually favorite category, it must be the most nerdy company. It really emphasizes a lot of what we're doing here, right? It's it's cool to be a nerd nowadays. We're changing the build environment together. So if you're participating in the main event later on, you may not participate, all of you guys, but if you are, just remember to register at the counter by the cool people from Blocks to say that you have shown up, show your tickets. It's very important so that we know you're in-house, right? Okay, thank you. I'll hand over the mic to you guys. Mikkel, welcome. Let's give him a hand. James.
Hello. Nice to be here. Lots of familiar faces. Good to see you all. Let me get this started. Sorry.
full face of CBMD now.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for what you're putting up with the main event.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about hacking the gap, which is the emerging value creation that is coming out of all the gaps between software in our ecosystem as AEC professionals. I am James Walker from HD Lab.
And my name is Mikkel Prins from Academa. Good to see you all. So today we'll be talking. Today we'll be co-hosting this pre-event with Blocks Hub AEC Hackathon. Big thanks to Aske for giving us this chance to make our voices heard from the Computational Design Network Denmark. Newly founded network. We just had our general assembly, and things are going really quick right now. So it's nice to have a voice here. More about that later. So today we'll be talking about hacking the gap. That's the title of the pre-event here, and it's a nice ambiguous title that everybody can sort of fantasize about what it actually means to hack the gap. So we'll be setting the stage here with explaining what we see as the gap, and also showing some examples of how we implement small, medium, and big hacks to solve our industry challenges. So today we are seeing a widening gap between software demands and capabilities, but we're also seeing rising demands for our projects. So the project expectations are data-driven. Clients and stakeholders demand real-time insights, performance modeling, and metrics all along the design, from the early stages to the very late stages. We are multi-collaborative. We work with APIs. We have our plans, our metrics, our visualization, bill of quantities, classification, analysis, engineers, contractors, our CDEs, our PIMs, our ISOs, our building parts, and so on and so forth. And it just gets worse and worse. Then we also have, rising expectations, regulatory expectations, rising market expectations. Maybe those expectations are being lowered a bit now with the omnibus, what we are reading from the omnibus from the European Union. We have our ESGs, our taxonomy. We have our LCA BR18. We have new buildings, existing buildings, transformation, energy efficiency, retrofitting, circularity, material banks and passports, certifications, and the higher and higher demands for our threshold values for LCA equivalence. So it's getting more and more challenging to perform in the AEC industry.
Other increasing expectations. It's been a long 10 years for AEC professionals. You've had to learn BIM, often without any formal training, and there's also just so many different software in our ecosystem that you have to use to piece together a project to meet all of these expectations that Mikkel's been talking about. But as computational designers, we think that this ecosystem is almost like a playground for us, and there's a lot of value that can be created from hacking these gaps between software. So you might be importing site data from QGIS using Speckle to run an environmental simulation in Grasshopper using Honeybee and Ladybug, or you might be importing some public data provided by Data for Sooning, which is a public body in Denmark where you could get BBR data, and you can do that with an C-sharp API call within Grasshopper to run another kind of analysis. Or you might be exporting gray model views into Comfy UI, which is an AI visual image creation algorithm that allows you to take these like gray model control net images and create like really flashy atmospheric renderings, and then you might be using that for your competition boards in Adobe Suite. So lots of different hacks and value to be created by hacking these gaps.
Exactly. And you can also see in this ever-expanding ecosystem between big software vendors, small services, data sources, that there's a lot of value to be created here if you can navigate the playground. And some examples of that could be real ESG based on data and regulatory demands. The same goes for real-time LCA that also works close along with interop tools like Speckle. And today we will also be hearing from Alex and Michael from Weft and Antler. They'll talk a bit about Weft, which is also a tool that utilizes and finds value in these cracks in the software and data and regulatory ecosystem. So you can say in many ways this playground for the computational designers, we've brought along a couple of examples on how you can use computational design to bridge these gaps or act as sort of a design missing link, or maybe even doing some of the pioneer work when new regulation is brought upon the building industry. And we'll be talking about it from a perspective of this roadmap and some different steps. So it's all about building a culture of computational design and innovation, scaling that innovation to strengthen the business, and at the end maybe even building a business powered by innovation, as we'll discuss later. So in the
and we see this as volume. And we see this as kind of a sliding scale of you developing your own skills as an individual hacker and then trying to share that within your office, and then eventually potentially building a startup or to share that with an industry as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. So we've brought a couple of examples. Just here's a quick example from my side on some project-specific workflows, and James has also brought a couple of those. And I mean, the project-specific workflows work nicely on a specific project, typically conducted by one or more computation designers, but it may not be very scalable, or it may not present a business solution. So here's a really simple, basic workflow to get you started on designing your master plans. So in this case, at Academia, we have a workflow where we utilize our Speckle server. We use Rhino to do our volumetric sketching, Grasshopper to do some calculations on it, and send that and some metrics to Speckle, and then we just use the Power BI to visualize the results. So that means that by using the template, the users will get some feedback on the metrics for our volumes that they are proposing. And after that, we can send the different design proposals to present to our client with the different dynamic calculations of the KPIs and the metrics. So it's a real simple setup, but it's based on interoperability, and it's based on sort of entry level knowledge about Rhino, Grasshopper, Speckle, and Power BI. Oh, sorry. Can I go back? Yes.
Yeah, and another project-specific hack that you'll often encounter on projects is going from the Rhino model to the Revit model. Maybe you're moving from schematic design to design development stage of the project. And a part of the design process that's really frustrating is on tower facades when you have a lot of different facade panels. So this is some consulting work I did with Henning Larsen Architects. It's a tower in Sydney. And the tower had like lots of different facade panels. A big part of architecture today, you express the building through these facade panels and their configurations, but that can quickly lead to a lot of variation. So on the project, there were like 3 different basic geometries, but the shadow box on the top of the overall unitized panel itself could be a different geometry than the bottom. So that led to 9 different types. And then you had to cover for all the different edge conditions. So on the project, the architects set up kind of a randomized pattern in Rhino, and I set up a script to read in like where these blocks were so I could get the pattern and then orient that into the correct place and coordinate system. And then the BIM manager on the project had set up curtain walls in the BIM 360 Revit model, and I used those in order to create this pattern, also generating some Revit families to account for the different types, and they also had to be parametric Revit families so that they could account for the changes in height. And these families had parameters we could reference to adjust these different heights of the shadow box and vision glass. And running the script, we had maybe 2 minutes of runtime and could place like 5,000 different panels, something that would take a lot of manual labor. So this took me around 2.5 months to do it on my own, but it was like 89 families in Revit, and then also a placement script along with other tasks I was working on. And this might have taken 2 or 3 people at the same time just to do it manually. So there's a lot of time that can be saved. And as the project went on, we also could update it seamlessly within that 2-minute runtime, which you wouldn't have doing it manually. Yeah. Yeah. And talking about at a different scale, also working with Henning Larsen, this is the Fellowbu project local to here. And this is more at the master plan scale. We looked in the competition proposal with them at how we could optimize the neighborhood layout along 4 different performance criteria, looking at the density of the building. We wanted to have these kind of dense buildings sort of located around these like town squares, these 3 different zones. And then, but we also wanted to test for the views out to nature, the daylight, so annual daylight hours, and the wind, which is a big issue in Ørsted in Amma. And so using multi-criteria optimization, we could generate thousands of solutions and explore them through this Pareto plot, seeing how different designs related in terms of different performance criteria. And here we can see the single criteria optimums, and those might be, very like fighting each other in some ways. Like you might have like daylight being like almost no buildings at all because that gets the best score, but that, then you don't have enough density to have a viable economic project, right? So these are the individual scores. And here we see the algorithm doing its work, slowly improving over time.
Yeah, moving on from the project-specific small innovations, we have some examples for these scaling internal tools. And so if you have a certain task where you have a high demand or high volume in your company, then you may be tempted to develop your own tool to implement for non-coders or non-hackers, which is do at your own peril, I would say. Could be one of the experiences from that. And I think most of the big companies have tried their ways in building stuff like that. So some years ago, it is now, we set off to build our own LCA design tool, as I think that's probably a journey many have embarked on over the time. And the idea was that we wanted to create a tool so that our architects could follow from the early stages and all along the different stages of the project, the carbon emissions from the building on a volume level, also taking into consideration the main construction, which is typically a significant part of the carbon emission, and also being able to describe different changes in surface materials or different facade systems. So the idea was that we, based on a Revit model, wanted to be able to make material changes by using aggregated LCA build-ups in real time in Revit, but we also wanted to be able to get feedback on the shape of the building, the ratio between the skin of the building and the floor area, for instance. So we ended up building our internal tool coded in C#, working as a plugin for Revit, and the tool was then fed with a material library that was basically made by reverse engineering, I would say, LCA Byg. So we used that to create our LCA aggregate library. And then at some point, when you had done your different design iterations, you could export them, and then we could have a look at them in this template we set up for Power BI. And I would say, looking back at that project, I wish we would have done it. We would have made it as a service, so we could have used it both for Revit, maybe also for Rhino. We could have used it with the dynamic environmental data from like Økobagdat or maybe Revalu or some of the emergent services. So in terms of hacking the gap, this could be an example of having lesser interoperability than you might wish for when you're creating solutions like this. And then, of course, we came to the implementation, and getting this to be a part of a normal design practice takes a lot of planning, a lot of communication, and a lot of changing the culture in the design teams, assigning ownership roles to the different stakeholders in the projects, almost on every level, I would say. So that was very interesting, and also a fun take on sort of enforcing that rule-based system thinking onto some of our design teams. Yes.
And the last step on our innovation roadmap is building a business powered by innovation. So this might be creating a startup or revolutionizing your own existing company to leverage technology better. So I want to give an example of a project I worked on called CirQ, which is a material registration and exchange hub for reused building materials. And it's built using Firebase and Flutter, as you can see from our ecosystem graph. And just have a short video here. So it's we worked on developing an app for material registration. So if a building is going to be deconstructed, you can go in and take the specific elements that could be reused and identify those for reuse. And then they would be shipped to a material bank, and then you could buy them on a material exchange. So this was the app built with Flutter so that we could deploy on Android and iPhone. And this links up to a Firebase database, which stores all of our product data. So here we're registering an external door, and then we'll be able to see that being utilized in our Revit plugin. So you can see what's on the material exchange and place items within Revit using kind of proxy geometry elements that represent these items from the material bank. So here we see our door that we registered earlier being placed in a Revit model. So, and there are also some sort of UI metrics based on how this affects the LCA performance of your project. So we envisage that in the future, as LCA requirements become more stringent, that you would be able to get a better score using recycled products this way. And CirQ is still developing as a company, but if you're interested, you can check it out at cirq.dk.
Yeah, so as you are progressing on the roadmap of scaling your innovation culture, there are definitely definitely benefits, but there are also challenges and demands. And once you start scaling your internal tools, you will have the challenges of standardization and documentation, implementing stuff, being able to support the technology that you are implementing at the same rate, supporting it at the same rate that you are implementing it in. Having governance, you're basically involving much more of your organization when you start scaling your computational design innovation system. And once you want to start building a business or maybe providing services as part of your consultancy, well, then it's also about market validation, product development, funding and resources, and then it becomes a whole nother beast and sets really high demands for stakeholders across your organization, I would say. And this is one of the things that we want to promote at CD&D. How can we discuss the practical steps on the way from getting from starting a computational design culture to really building and enhancing it, but also on a strategic level, what does it take and what stakeholders do you need to communicate with?
Yeah, so CD&D, our mission is to sort of promote knowledge sharing and open source. It's to create an inclusive forum for networking and talent discovery. We want to bring people together and make people feel like you're not alone in this, because it's a bit scary proposing this to your boss and all the stakeholders on a project. It's risky, and so we want to be in this together. And we want to build this supportive community through meetings, networking events, and and ensure that computational design and open source practices become an integral part of AECO companies in Denmark. So we hope that you'll go to the website and join. Here is a QR code. If you don't use QR codes, it's cdnd.dk. So would love to see you there.
Yeah, freshly built homepage.
Yes.
Made by Ryan Hughes in record time.
Yeah, deployed at 1 a.m. last night.
Yeah, exactly. Deployed in real time while we were speaking here.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, guys. And let's quickly just invite the panel before we are giving the microphone to Michael from PropTech Denmark. So, Julie Corneliusen from AEC. We have Andreas with us from Rambøll and Gabriella Rossi. She is from the Royal Academy. I will quickly just hand the microphone over to you guys. So, if we switch on. 2, 3, 5.
Testing. Are we good? Yes, all right. It's Friday. We're awake. We're live. We're at Blocks Hub. We are transmitting around the globe, and we have an expert, a panel with us here. We're just going to quickly run through the fact that we're going to be spending about 25 minutes or so, basically hacking the gap. We've got 3 panelists, world experts. They're going to lean into it. It's going to be fast-paced. And I see at the back, we've got Michael here, so we've got at least one heckler. That's good. So we're going to have all the tough questions from the audience. You don't have to be called Michael to ask questions, though, although it does help, of course. My name is Michael Ambjørn from PropTech Denmark, and the Michael out of sight is the head of Antler here in Denmark. Right, let's get right to it. First of all, maybe should we hear a little bit more about basically our illustrious panel here? Gabriella, you've recently taken an extra step up and step forward. Maybe you want to just briefly share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I'm assistant professor at CETA, Center for IT and Architecture at the Royal Academy, and I research machine learning and how it can be applied to architecture with specific focus on new materials and how we can kind of implement them faster in our industry. So
great. So new materials and implement them faster. And why is that important?
Well, it's important because we need to change the way we're building, and we need to lower our carbon footprint, and changing the material culture of architecture is one way of doing that.
So very modest aims, basically, just revolutionizing the world. That's great. Thank you, Gabriella. And Andreas?
I'm from Rambøll.
Yes.
I'm our digital lead within sustainability, specifically. So I work a lot with our processes, how we work with digital tools and internal development. And I just love this community.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And do you identify as a hacker?
Semi. I'm not, I'm not trading coding. I'm interested in it. So I'm not the best code out there, but I do write my own stuff. So maybe a semi-hacker.
Write your own stuff, do your own stunts. That's great.
Exactly.
All right. And last but not least.
Yeah, so I'm Julie. I'm with ABC. Just started there recently. Previously, I was co-worker with Andreas.
Yeah.
Now I'm working as a structural engineer at ABC, where I spend my time on trying to close the gap between my colleagues who are not that used to these new methods of working.
Yep.
And the ones that are really good at it and really hacking their way into creating new ways of working and new tools for the department.
So all the way from the kind of academic field of looking at materials and so on, and all the way through to people, and maybe a little bit of process in the middle, right? So that's sets a really good frame for the discussion today. So let's talk a little bit more about basically computational design, and then let's talk a little bit about the new requirements. Basically, could you say maybe a little bit more about what are the requirements that we're looking into?
From my perspective, I think we're looking into new regulations that are putting pressure on just having more data about the buildings that we're creating. And I think that a lot of our tools are kind of just not geared for that. But I guess the industry guys can speak more precisely to that.
Yeah, true. We are realizing that the impact of our buildings is quite huge. And we need to understand the value chain of our buildings. And that is, managing a lot of data that sometimes doesn't exist, actually. So it's about putting pressure on the industry, trying to make them generate this data, like manufacturers, for example, need to start looking into their environmental impacts and so on. But it also requires that we look into this infrastructure of how we share this data. So that's, I think, what we work a lot with, is looking into how we can make that more efficient and use the data properly.
So in our audience here, we have people from architecture, engineering, and construction, right? And at least 2 out of the 3, probably all 3, like numbers getting concrete, basically. Could you throw some numbers onto the table here, or into the forum, so to speak, that really brings to life part of the challenge?
Well, at least, I don't know if it's a concrete number, but one of the challenges that we meet is that we normally speak in what does it cost in money and what does it cost in time. Now we also talk what does it cost in CO2, and this third part is challenging the way that we normally work with fast-paced and low the economy, like low,
So
budget.
What you're saying is we're going from a traditional kind of accounting of basically money in, money out, and basically taking account of many more resources, including CO2 and maybe even planetary boundaries, if we're going to go all the way. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
That we have to now, juggle with those 3 different parameters, and that makes it even more relevant to bring computational design into our work.
Yeah, and could we maybe kind of get to kind of the crux of the panel here today, which is basically hacking the gap? How do we do that in practice? How do we make those? What would be a practical example of hacking the gap?
So there's a lot of open source development, and I think we're very lucky that our community is very generous with knowledge. And I think, like, I can speak for myself, that I probably wouldn't have learned as much as I know if things weren't online and tutorials weren't online and LinkedIn posts weren't there. And so on. So I think in a way, like, we're very good at pointing to gaps and kind of, oh, here, I made this plugin, please have it, do something with it, break it or expand it or so on. And I think it's a very nice prototyping culture that we have as well. So
Okay, so it's a different culture and also a different approach. In this group here, how many basically have a GitHub account? That's one example, or use. Yeah, okay, quite a few of you. Okay, and how many of you are actively contributing to open source projects? Yeah, plus minus. Okay, well, the weekend is ahead of you, so there's an opportunity to change that, right? And so you're saying it's a new approach and culture and so on. That also requires a different set of skills. That was what you were hinting at, right? Could you kind of enumerate a little bit what are the skills needed for the 21st century when it comes to being able to hack the gap?
Well, you need to have some domain knowledge, that's for sure. So you cannot talk about, let's say, environmental impacts without having some knowledge within that field. Like, you have to understand the data you're working with. But to really make it useful and to hack the gap, as you say, I think you also need to have the skills within the technical domain to actually make that happen in practice. So it's kind of you need to be a jack of all trades if you want to do it by yourself. But that's, the beauty of this community is that we are a lot of people in the AEC community that work with a lot of different things. So I think it's more about connecting people and ensuring that people can work together efficiently and kind of challenging the status quo of how we work. We need to change the way we work. And I think that's one of the major challenges of working in a big company like Ramble, for example, is that people are sometimes set in their ways, and it can be difficult to introduce a change.
Right. You're saying engineers can be like
a
stuck
bit
in their
rigorous.
ways? Really? Okay. Interesting. Okay. So one of the culture changes is maybe being more explicit about what you have and what you need. Is that a reasonable way of putting it? So we're going to put it to the test now, right? Because basically a number of the people in this room are going to be spending the weekend hacking, and you can't fix everything yourself, right? You can try.
So you can build cool stuff, but if nobody uses it, then you're not achieving anything.
Right. So there's an old West African proverb, right, which is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you're going to far, go together. So basically, I think this is a go together exercise, right? So if you were to just share one skill that people can come and get help on from you, and then vice versa, what's one skill that you're looking for in the room? Does that make sense as a question?
In terms of the hackathon, you say?
Yeah.
I won't be participating, but
lean into the concept.
Anything data, machine learning, yes. Please come ask me, even remotely.
Yeah, great.
I know a lot about environmental data, so like the domain knowledge. I do also have some technical skills, but I would mainly be, I think, where I stand out in this crowd is probably on the expert knowledge within LCA and embodied carbon and all that. Yeah.
And you're a civil engineer, so there's a whole body of knowledge there. But what else?
Well, yeah, that's probably where I stand out. within the civil engineering. But other than that, I think it's I'm maybe not the strongest in the coding part, but where I see that sometimes we have a need, especially within the engineering part, is that we need to get better at communicating our stuff, the way we work and the work that we do, and that's where where I have my focus also. So if there's anything within communication challenges, then let me know.
Okay, great. And if there was one skill that you wish that you could basically partner up with, what would that be? Of course, as a professor, it's sometimes the other way around.
Yeah, curiosity goes a really long way, I think, and I think that's something we're realizing more and more in our curriculum. Is that it's kind of hard to teach everybody all the skill set that they need in their next life, but we can teach them to not just ask ChatGPT, but actually know where to find information.
Right. So how many people use ChatGPT? Yeah, Michael's actually on it right now. Generating later. Yeah, that's great. All right.
Yeah.
How about you, Adais?
Well, I'm looking for a nerd, I think. I am a nerd myself, but maybe more of a developer nerd, a software nerd, a full stack developer, for example, that can help me get that last bit of the way. I have a bunch of ideas that, I want to try out.
Great.
But sometimes it takes me a while to, learn new stuff. And it would be nice to have someone who just, is really good at it so you can get really far really quickly.
And any full stack developers in the room?
Don't be modest.
They're on the way. They're on the way. All right. Great. And Julie?
I don't know if it has to be a specific skill, but I think someone very open-minded towards different ways of working, because, especially in a form like this, we are very different, and the skills that we bring in are very different, and the ways we work also.
Yep.
So, we come a long way if we can bridge these different ways of working.
And just changing tack a little bit, are we becoming more agnostic, sort of from a software point of view as a society, or are we all leaning into, big one single house provider, so to speak?
I think
from that?
Maybe both things are happening at the same time.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing more and more movement towards the software agnostic type of working, but there are still these huge software, I wouldn't say monopolies, but kind of monopolies. Yeah.
Some of them are here, by the way.
Probably.
Yeah, Wave and Smile. Yeah.
And we use them every day, but I think it's important to acknowledge this new trend of kind of going more on the cloud, more open source, working together across the industry to achieve more standardization. We agree on how we describe things, that sort of thing.
Right.
You can't really do that in silos.
Opening up for ontology there and all sorts of other wonders, right?
For example, it's a huge task, but it's important.
Yeah. Great. Anything to add there, Julie?
I think he said it all.
So I think it was Niels Bohr who said that making predictions is hard, especially about the future. Nevertheless, in 5-10 years, what will the landscape look like?
I think double work will decrease. I think if it's the natural tendency, if everything becomes open source, then nobody needs to do it twice in a way. And I think that's the dream, so that there's no 5 ways to write an EPD, but there's like one, and then that's the one everybody uses.
One and done. Okay.
So that we can then move with, put our attention not in homogenizing and standardizing, but actually in doing the buildings, and which is probably the part that we all love. Like, we solve problems because we have to, not because maybe some of us get a dopamine kick from it, but it's more.
All right, so we have dopamine
necessity
there and double work, right? So can you just give a concrete example of double work?
I don't know, like all the services that are providing the same service, basically, just different slightly. With the whole
drawn modules, for example, and so on. All right, okay, yeah. So there's less double work?
Yes and no. I think there will also be, I hope there will be less double work. But I also think that we will see a lot of development, and also in parallel. Hopefully not too much, but it's also healthy competition, right? So, but I think there's probably not going to be like a unification of ways of working. I think in 5 years, right, we are still going to kind of open up the bag of new solutions and new ways of doing things. So yeah. I think it's going to be an interesting 5 years. Also
Okay, interesting 5 years.
with AI and all that. Let's not get into that though.
All right. Any
Yeah.
famous last words there on 5 to 10 years out?
I mean, sometimes I also think we have to ask ourselves if it's necessarily bad that we do all the parallel work, because I mean we learn from it, and we can at least if we just if we're focusing on learning from these things that we do, and talking about it in a forum like this.
Okay. And I'm going to give you a challenge to think about one thing that won't change in the next 5 years. Does that make sense? So it's like an inverse challenge. Whilst you think about that, I'm going to go to the audience and get some questions there. Let's see if Michael's account is working on ChatGPT. Michael, what's your question?
I think it won't change.
I'll pass it on to Alex, who's actually in the space.
Very nice. Alex.
You have a microphone?
Oh. Momentarily, we have a microphone assistance here. Thank you. And thank you to our technician, who's also our stage manager now. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I come from a background of sort of combining data sources. So I guess what do you think are the sort of the biggest issues in, siloed data and actually accessing the crucial data that you need to do all the computational design that's going on?
Okay. That's a good challenge.
I think what you're describing is maybe also, ownership and rights to data and data not being freely accessible. We are running into those walls, and how to solve that, I don't know. It's about money in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's expensive to gather data. It's expensive to clean the data. It's expensive to host the data.
Yeah.
And sometimes the data you need is nobody else has it. So it's a bit of a interesting problem.
Yeah.
Hi. One question regarding the subject itself, because we all talk about the buildings in architecture and construction and LCA. Have you worked on any projects regarding the user itself?
In
You think about LCA for the uninitiated
actually,
is
I'm
the life cycle assessment. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm here because of the subject of how to expand the value of the user engagement.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is a subject that I haven't seen before in a forum like this, so
Yeah.
I'm actually quite intrigued.
Yeah.
To hear more, and with the presentation spin, have you worked on projects like these?
So when you say users, do you mean users of the buildings that we build, or
us humans?
Humans. Yes. This is maybe of a bit of jump in another direction, but like we do things like post-occupancy evaluations, go out and research if the buildings are actually performing like we want them to in terms of indoor climate. But it's maybe it could be better, I think. It's also it can be better, yeah. We are hacking the gap, but there's also a performance gap in terms of what we design and what actually is built. Like, how does that perform? Do we actually perform the same way we intended it to perform? And the answer is no. So there's need for, regulating things after the building is being built, this whole commissioning phase. And that's the user is central in that regard, yeah.
In our work, we're looking a lot at what it means to start changing the material culture in architecture. And so what it means in terms of maintenance and repair, and how buildings live, because then their lifespans get shorter for using biomaterials, for example, that degrade and so on. And so what is actually the model that would be possible for people to be, residents to be engaged in their own habitat? And then how do we bring back models of maintenance and care for buildings? And it's very luxury of research. We can actually think about these things. But it's also probably another way to engage the people with what we build.
That's a really good point. Whilst the microphone's just traveling across the room there, did you have anything to add to the user engagement?
Well, that's maybe not so much of my field as a structural engineer.
Yep.
I mean, the most important thing for me is that the building stands.
That's a really good point. Maybe I can add Michael, I'm from Property Denmark, right? So we have lots of members that work in the field, both from the point of view that they own a lot of buildings, right? And also technology into the buildings. And what I'm fascinated by is the fact that the feedback loop isn't really there, right? I wrote an op-ed for Børsen, which is like the Danish Financial Times, where I suggested that it might be useful for us to have a smiley approach to buildings, just like we have with food. So if you go to a restaurant, there'll be like an inspector report, and we should have the same for air quality and acoustics and so on. It hasn't happened yet, but here's to hoping to it. And then another way of really kind of bringing it home is this building here, which cost a fair bit to create. I don't believe the architect has actually been in the building, right? Just think about that. Now, the chap behind the Sydney Opera House also never visited the Sydney Opera House. That was a more complex story, but in this millennium, it seems odd that the architect hasn't been back to basically absorb feedback, right? So now we are ready for a question from Niels.
That was a good observation, I think. So I just came to think of something I forgot in the presentation, so now I got the chance to say it. We were talking about the skill set that is needed, and I think maybe it's a moving target, right? Earlier you just had to be good at Revit or Rhino or whatever. Now you have to be good at interoperability and understanding the ecosystem, working cloud-based and combining stuff. So, but the question I wanted to ask is, we were talking about the implementation of new materials and from a user perspective, but I also wanted to ask, what do you think the value chain will look like? Because it's, I mean, maintenance is one thing, production is one thing. How do you own a building? How do you maintain a building and lease it? I mean, these new demands that are constantly emerging for new materials also come with an uncertainty, both for maintenance, but also for actually getting the materials. Is there enough wood if I draw a wooden building here? Is there enough mycelium to regulate the acoustics?
Yeah. I think this is a question we're looking at it now in like one really big EU project that is about actually bringing to market these sort of materials without siloing them again into certifications and so on. And so there's this huge idea about risk and legal risk of like who is actually guaranteeing the performance of the materials, but also life cycle and those implications. And this idea of not turning waste into a commodity, because a lot of the biocomposites, at least we're looking at right now, are waste-based biocomposites, where we take someone else's trash and we turn it into something nice. And then how do you do that in a balance that doesn't create the same planetary boundary problem all over again? So we're talking about locality of materials, seasonality of materials. Hemp gathered in the summer and the winter is not the same. So how do you even write a product declaration of what product and so on? So it's a very big change of paradigm in a way. And I think we're trying to at least identify what are the missing links in order for us to be able to build that paradigm to start with from a legal or economic perspective. So I don't have an answer. I can have an answer in 3 years. We can talk about that again.
The building industry is such a super tanker, right? So everything happens so slow. And do we have the time to I mean...
I think the answer to that is no, but...
No.
Yeah. So just a couple of footnotes there. I think there's a work around material passports, for example, which is important to follow from the point of view that some of the structures probably will be settled as standards, and then the data can flow in and out of it, so we don't all reinvent the same what's called wheel or deep plate, as we say in Danish. Doesn't translate well. Fantastic. Thank you for that. We're going to flip it now and basically check. First of all, did you now think of one thing that won't change in the next 5 years? And then after that, because you can multi-thread, right? I'm going to ask you to ask the audience a question. So first, one thing that won't change in the next 5 years.
That I think that we need to design beautiful spaces. I think this will always be a constant. And then no matter what they're built with or how we built them or what data turned into a building, I think beauty and aesthetics and just quality of space are going to be a constant in our...
So in a good hacking team, there isn't just a full stack developer. There isn't just somebody who knows how to do good prompt engineering and whatever else.
No, you need an architect.
An architect, a designer, somebody with aesthetics, and then maybe also an anthropologist, right? Back to the point of how do humans behave. Okay. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Andreas?
I think things are not gonna get simpler.
Yeah.
Even though that we try to find common ground and work towards common formats and so on.
Yeah.
I think we are going to get more requirements. Our projects are going to get more complex. And as I said before, I think there's going to be this phase where we are just seeing many solutions that are going to make the whole thing more complicated to navigate.
So to translate that into something that won't change, it's the ever-growing number of rules, regulations, and things, criteria to conform to. Okay,
and all the ways to get there as well, right? All the tools. There's going to be more of that to navigate.
So the world will continue to be complex.
Yeah,
you heard it here first. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Julia.
I think one thing that it will not change is that we meet a challenge in quality assurance.
Yeah.
And that is both something that you're talking about, with the materials. It's also in the work that we do. If we develop new tools, then how do we quality insurance this? If I do a structural engineering tool, how do my older colleague who is way more nerdy within the structural field, how does he then quality insurance my tool, because there's a gap there. So there are lots of these gaps when it comes to questioning how are these tools developed, and why do we get the answer from ChatGPT that we do this.
So what I'm hearing between the lines is, as you're talking about something that falls outside traditional engineering, which is related to gravity and things that you can hold out and reach quite often, and it's trust. Is that right? Because it's basically, how can we trust the output of this thing, which you can't just sit down and calculate the old school way, right?
Yeah.
Is that the way of summing it up?
Yeah, you can say that.
So the need for trust is not going to change.
The need for trust, and also the need for knowledge about the quality of the work and the materials, and things are just moving so fast that it's difficult to make sure that the quality of the materials are okay. How do they perform in many years, and if this specific tool does it work along a lot of projects? It's a
great
challenge.
We've promised you a fast-paced panel. We are well into basically the final stretch here. This is the opportunity for any more questions from the room. But also, I put the challenge: if you have a question for the panel, then maybe, meaning for the audience, we could flip the script a little bit. What are you the most curious about? What's the one question where you're thinking, oh, if that's something I'm looking forward to explore more when it comes to computational design? This is could be you might have a PhD student here shortly that could, right? PhD questions tend to be quite long, to be fair, and the answers incredibly long. So a little bit more brief within the time available.
Good one.
Good one. Yes.
Yeah, one to ponder. Any more questions from the audience here? What would you like to know? No? Yeah.
How do you feel the lessons that can be learned here can translate to places like the States and others? What do you feel is that good way of really taking that knowledge to much bigger markets?
Yep.
Oof. I think we are inherently working with some of the same issues, probably. We're trying to describe our buildings in a meaningful way and analyzing what happens to the environment, to the users, to the context we're in. So I think some of the tools and challenges are the same, but the context is a bit different. So probably some of the tools and the data formats and so on can be translated to other countries. But I think you have to take into account the context that you are in, like regulations, for example. It's a boring one, but it's a real one. Like just in Europe, there's different ways of doing an LCA, for example. And it poses challenges to kind of scale the way we work. Now I'm speaking as Ramble, because we have very local requirements and expectations from our project. So,
yeah. We have a final question here.
I think that's a great point. I think when we were looking at LCA years and years ago, when we knew that regulations were coming, we were also looking towards the States and other European countries to see so what's on the market now, and the answer was not a lot, and it was based on local regulation. So we are not timing the regulation even in the European Union, I think, as we should, because that regulation drives a lot of innovation. So when we were looking to one-click LCA or Tally at that time, it didn't meet what we needed for living up to the building code in Denmark, which is a shame because we're missing out on a lot of innovation when it's based on mistimed regulations being implemented across different regions of the world. So I have high hopes for the European Union, and I think the EU taxonomy could, it's an example or even ESG, an example of regulation starting innovation on a bigger scale where we can benefit from it better. Yeah.
Great. We're gonna round up and basically go finally back to the panel now and basically see what's the one thing you would like this group to do to move computational design forward.
Versioning in Grasshopper.
Versioning in Grasshopper.
Yes,
okay,
please.
super practical.
Please find a solution this weekend. Thank you.
Grasshopper Ninja already here. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so there'll be a Grasshopper expert coming. Okay, great. So versioning in Grasshopper, Andreas?
I don't know, just, be open-minded and talk with each other and, help each other instead of, just thinking about winning this contest.
Yeah.
Because I think we can learn a lot from each other. Yeah.
So it's about collaboration and being able to talk to other people. Great. And Julie?
Yeah, I think in line with learning a lot from each other, be good at communicating what you do and why you do it. So it inspires, and so it's easier for people to take that work and work upon it. And
that's a really good point to round off. Immediately after this, I'll run off and run some mentor training for the hackathon. There are mentors available throughout the weekend. Basically, if in doubt, reach out. Basically, find somebody, spar with them, talk to them, pitch your idea, try it out, test it. That's really worthwhile. The key other thing to say is that this is the 2025 AEC Hackathon, and we're live streaming all day today and also tomorrow. And with that, I would like to ask you to all put your hands together for this fantastic panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael, and also thank you to you for the moderation of this panel. Thank you guys so much. I just quickly say that please, guys, take a break, 5 minutes, and let's get back into action. So 5 minutes, and we will be right on together with Andler and the funding pathways in AEC. Thank you, guys. Okay. We are slowly starting up again, guys. Hoping you are enjoying the cake and the coffee you can drink and eat in here with the guys from Antler and Weft. Booting that up, guys. Let's get back into action. Remember to enjoy your coffee and cake while seeing this cool presentation from Antler. Okay, let's start up, guys. So while this event is mostly about the techs of the industry, we also want to talk a little bit about how to move your technologies and your good ideas forward, and to make sure that you have at least an idea on how to find the pathways to the next step. Maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 of you have an idea to start up a startup within the AEC industry. We have seen good examples on how that can happen. But it doesn't happen by itself. You need good mentoring, and you need to have a good point to start from. So Michael from Antler, together with Alex from Weft, welcome, and please take over from here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Michael, and I'm a partner with Antler here in Copenhagen. We're actually based at Blockshop right here in the yellow buildings, as you can see here on the picture as well. And today I've tried to cram what I normally present in 2 hours down to 10 minutes. So it's going to be a little bit fast-paced, and I'm going to jump very quickly over a bunch of things. The agenda is how to turn your hack into a VC-backable startup, point 1, and then I'm going to let Alex talk about like how he has done exactly that with us. Why can I tell you a little bit about this? Is because the organization that I work for and represent here in Copenhagen is the world's most active investor in early stage startups. In the last about 6 years, we've made more than 1,400 investments in brand new startups all across the world in the 30 locations we're at. Right now, our run rate is that we invest in about 500 startups a year from roughly 200,000 applications that we're getting every year. And if you want to build a unicorn, that's no sort of no small feat or task. It's super complicated, and there are lots of steps to it. First, you, of course, and we'll talk about problem, solution, and why you in just a second. But first, you can, for instance, you need to get a pre-seed round. You can get that pre-revenue, pre-idea, get your seed round. You get a little bit more traction in the market, and then you start sort of getting into your Series A, your Series B, Series C, and Series D, and raising tons of capital. And that is extremely complicated, and only very, very few of the companies that set out on this journey actually end up succeeding, getting all the way there. When you're building a startup, it's not like building any other company. A startup is specifically designed to get enormously big and do it enormously fast. Sort of the average state of a unicorn is that they will reach roughly $100 million in annual revenue, so about so a lot of money in average of 7 years. That's super fast. A lot of companies never even get to $100 million in revenue, but then doing it in 7 years is extremely fast. When you want to build a startup, it's not these funding rounds, they don't just come in and by themselves. First, there are like 3 things you probably have to think about whilst you're doing it. The problem, the solution, and then why you. If you think firstly about, and it starts in that order, you have to fall in love with the problem that you want to solve. And you have to really obsess about solving that problem for some specific users and so forth. And then I could talk for many, many more minutes about problems and how they have to be like big and repeatable and at the sort of like really urgent for people to solve and all these things. But we don't have time for that today. I'm happy to dive into that with some of you if you're interested. Then when you want to then find a solution to solve that problem, probably very, very good to start out with thinking that the way we're doing it today is probably not the best way of doing it tomorrow. So try to think about different ways of putting it together. Like think about Airbnb. Like it wasn't obvious to anyone that you want to rent out your apartment to strangers back in the day, but Brian and the team, they did that and changed just that. Then you have to get into thinking about why you. You need an unfair advantage to solve the problem and that you're solving. When you start searching online, doing your research, you'll figure out that for each problem, there are typically hundreds of teams trying to solve it. And as soon as you start putting your solution into the market, I can guarantee you that if there aren't hundreds of people trying to solve it, and you put your solution out there and you raise a proper round of seed capital from someone, there will be hundreds of teams trying to solve that because they want to copy you and try to do it. And they might get more funding, run faster, do lots of different things. So you have to figure out, like, why are you the unique team to solve this exact problem? Could be that you either are the very best in the world to solve this. It could be that you have a competitive advantage in terms of distribution. Many other different things that I could also talk for many, many more minutes about, but unfortunately don't have exact time today. But at least you need to have an unfair advantage in solving that problem. Once you've then gotten to there, then you can start thinking about the sources of funding for your startup. There are lots of different sources of funding and also various sources of funding for various types of companies. Now I'm going to get a little bit more into the venture-backable companies, since that's the industry I work in, where we try to find like super fast growing companies. It starts out with like some of the first funding you can get are loans or credit. People, this is very American, typically talk about using their credit cards as a way of financing their startups. You can also go to angel investors, people sort of like very early looking to invest in startups, looking for venture capital, so venture capital firms like us looking to invest in startups like yourselves. Crowdfunding, getting either selling your product before it's built, if you're selling the product, and or you could try to get crowdfunding of equity, where a large group of people come together to fund you. Startup accelerators, and it can also be local sovereign funds or local economic development things. Here in Denmark, InnoFounder, extremely popular, InnoBooster, lots of different setups around the world where you can get the first funding for your startup. If you're in Denmark specifically, since we're here, I figured I'd bring out sort of the ecosystem of Denmark and all the different, sort of the whole Danish startup ecosystem. And you can find loads of different people here. You can find this on heyfunding.dk, where the Hey Funding team, they very graciously put together all of the different players in the startup ecosystem, so you can find whatever you're looking for and do it there. If when you're then sort of like a little bit off the ground, you're ready, you now said, okay, let's try to set up and get a VC, a venture capitalist, to invest in you at a pre-seed stage, which is where you'll typically bet when you're starting out. There are loads of different things that they will look at, and they will all look at them a little bit differently. But at least there are 5 categories of things that they will look at. First, the team. Who are the team members? What is your past experience? Do you have any prior knowledge in building startups? Do you have domain expertise in this? Do you have the grit it takes? Just looking at that journey, there are lots of ups and downs, and you have to push through every time you get up. Sometimes you get up and get some really bad news. Sometimes you have a day where you just like can't get your arms down from over your head. You have to sort of push forward either way. The market size, again, if you want to get to $100 million in revenue, and that's just a start, you should like still have room to grow after that. It has to be a really big problem you're solving. So like, how big is the market that you're trying to solve? And it's not always obvious that the market is really big. Again, coming back to the Airbnb market, that market was about 0 before Airbnb came, and now it's huge. So it can be a new market you're creating. Then the solution and the moats. What is the uniqueness to what you're doing? Typically, you can answer that in a way of saying, am I doing this 10x better, faster, cheaper, or something than the existing solutions in the market? That is sort of a solution. And then building a moat around it, so others can't just come and do the same thing you're doing at that exact time. Oh, shoot. The business model, like how do you make money from this, and which margins do you make? And then also, last but not least, definitely traction and metrics, like how fast are you growing, how many users do you have, do they come back, do they love your product, etc. All right, and at Antler, we support founders from the very day 0, and that's also why I think it's extremely fun to be here and talk to you about like how do you turn your hack into an actual startup. Antler was built on the whole premise of like these 4 challenges that we typically see founders have. You have no co-founder, you have limited access to professional capital, an incomplete idea, or a limited network. And then we put together a 3-month residence where we gather 50 roughly amazing founders here in Copenhagen. That's the case anyway, and across the Nordics. We do that in 4 different locations together so they can come and find each other. Alex will tell you that a little bit about that in a second. We provide you with pre-seed funding already after 12 weeks of our residence. We have sparring sessions where we try to challenge you on like making your company backable by a venture fund and challenge you on the different business models. And then we have access to a global network of top-tier advisors that can also support you with that, and downstream investors, so the next investor is also investing in your startup. You might ask, what does day zero look like? And like from starting, we back founders from day zero. This is exactly what day zero looked like in August. Alex was in that picture somewhere. At least I can see his co-founder Semyon in the picture. And that's the group of people we have together. So 50 amazing entrepreneurs from thousands of applications. We pick the best ones. We take them through a 12-week residence, and then we help match them with co-founders and get them on their journey to move forward. After those 12 weeks, we started in August. We invested in 6 companies, Weft and Alex being one of them. And yeah, we are starting actually on Monday with another 50 people, so it might be a little bit late to join. If some of you should be interested, you can scan the code or maybe even like grab me, and we'll try to see if we can make it work, or we start again in September. And if it's not here in Copenhagen, we are all around the world, and you can just scan the link and find the right location for you. And now giving it over to Alex.
All right. Thank you. Should we change over real quick? Maybe full screen it. Yeah. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex. I'm the CEO of Weft. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our story and what we've been building. So a little bit of background. Weft started around a year ago now, actually without me. So my co-founder Semyon, he's a former software engineer from the AEC industry. He started developing Weft, and we both actually met during the Antler residency, him looking for a commercial co-founder, me looking for a technical co-founder. We joined up, fell in love, and then we raised our pre-seed round just a couple months after that together with Antler. So what are we actually doing? A little bit of background. As you all know, data-driven design in the AEC space continues to grow. BIM adoption, data-driven tools, there's lots of investment in these different software and a lot more adoption. But what Semyon noticed very early on, and what he introduced to me as well, is that a lot of the existing providers of 3D models and 3D data are not really servicing the industry. So whether it be poor geometry quality from providers, very localized coverage in certain parts of the world, or a lot of 3D platforms, be it Google Maps, Mapbox, not creating tools and models in editable formats. And the result, of course, is that designers, analysts, everyone's doing a lot of manual work. People are doing a lot of urban analysis on incomplete data sets. And this is really what we're trying to solve. So what Weft is a platform to quickly gather the best coverage and quality of 3D models and real-world data. This includes buildings with complex geometry, including roofs, fully geometric surfaces from across the world, topography models, and a wealth of infrastructure data, which is crucial for a lot of this design. And the important part of this is everything is available in various 3D formats, so it can be used in any tool or available via our API. And I'll give you a quick little demo video of how this looks at the moment. Let's see, hopefully this works. So what you'll see here is the demo environment that we've created so far, where users can go in and they can search for sites anywhere across the world. When they find the place they're interested in, they simply draw a rectangle or a polygon around a specific area, and then they can generate a preview directly on our platform. Here they can see the 3D models, they can interact with them, they can toggle different layers. All of the geometry we produce is based on real-world data from various sources. And of course, a lot of the infrastructure data, whether it be trees, public transportation, points of interest, we allow them to decide exactly what data and what layers they want to include for these models. Of course, whether you're in Europe, whether you're in Asia, whether you're in North America, we try to collect all of the best global data sources across the world. And crucially, with all of this, we then allow you to export the scene of your choice into any of the popular 3D formats. If you're using Rhino, if you're using Revit, SketchUp, whatever it might be, we provide the export format so then that these 3D models can be edited, can be analyzed, or of course, very popular with architects, to place your own designs in the context of the real world. So this is what we've been developing so far. A little bit of peek under the hood. What we've mainly been focusing on are two things. Firstly, gathering a lot of this data, so whether it be from OpenStreetMaps, Google, Microsoft, Esri, but what we've really been focusing on is our geometry processing. So we do a lot of data filtering on these sources. We've developed algorithms to generate a lot of this complex geometry, including the roofs and the surfaces. And what this means is we can get a lot more detailed and accurate results than what's currently out there. So just to give a couple of examples as well here, one from Spain. So I know I've spoken to a lot of architects. They use a platform called CAD Mapper, which is, I suppose, a little bit in the same space, but of course, both with our geometry, we can get a lot more detailed results. But crucially, if you're doing any kind of sunlight analysis, here we actually took an example from Autodesk Forma, which is great for doing analysis, but we can see when we integrate context, which has a lot more have I not been online? Okay, apologies for that. And the second one is our API, and that's also something I wanted to zone in here on, because what we allow is for any developer or any tool to integrate our geometry directly into any environment. And looking at that a little bit more in detail, this is kind of how it works. It's set up to be very, very simple. Any other platform or software where you want to conduct any urban analysis, you can use our API to call specific coordinates of a site. We then do all of the data processing. We store all of the information on our servers. And what we send back is then the mesh geometry for this specific site, including all the relevant metadata that you might want to use. And then you can, of course, in this example, integrate, let's say, a computational model directly into the real world context. And one of the reasons, of course, we also wanted to share this, because we've launched it pretty recently, is that together, of course, with the AEC Hackathon, we wanted to make this readily available for anyone who's participating and doing this weekend. So if anyone's doing a project and you want to, do any of your designs in the real world, we're here to help. So it's going to be free for anyone to access. We'll be available, so you can just go to hackathon.cityweft.com to get any information about it. I'll be around as well if anyone has any questions or wants to hear more. Or you can just scan the QR code, which is here. So we've got two on the left side. If you want to apply to Antler, that's where you got to go. If you want to hear more about the API, scan the QR code on the right side. And that's all from us.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Michael from Antler and CityWeft. Thanks a lot. Thank you, guys. Thank you. We are a little over time, but we are soon ready with our workshop format here. Just a couple of minutes. Disciplinary collaboration, cross-cultural, cross-language, cross as much as we can, basically, and hoping you guys will join each other in cool groups and do these cool hacks. So to exemplify how that can be done, we have some cool representatives. We have Joel from Link Architecture and Askan from Henning Larsen. And you're with us here today to do a little showcasing workshop to show a little bit more about how this can be done. Collaboration, community. Welcome, guys. Welcome.
Yeah. Perfect. Yes, no problem. Can everyone hear me? Is it working? Working? You can check. Hello? 1, 2, 3? Not yet? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for joining today's workshop, 3 collab tools for your hacking Swiss knife. So what we're going to do in this workshop, here's a little bit of an agenda. We're going to have an introduction on how the workshop is going to go through. And we're going to give you some extra tool, Obsidian. We're going to talk a little bit about this in a second. And then we're going to dive into our 3 collab tools for the workshop. We're going to talk a little bit about GitHub Action and the topic of automation and how we can enable workflows to actually go step by step with just a trigger action. Then we're going to talk about Supabase as an example of databases and how we can work with our data that we can store and manipulate. And then we're going to talk about React as a UI tool and as a good example of how we can take our workflows further. And then we're going to take 1 second also to take all these examples that we're going to show you and ground it up into AEC applications, actually. So we're going to use the example of Urban GPT. That is one interesting tool. And we're going to analyze it a little bit from this point of start. So an introduction to our workshop. So this is going to be very hands-on, very, let's say, unpolished, but we're going to switch between our computers. We're going to talk you and show you directly here what we can do with these specific tools. And per each one of the tools, we're going to show a short preview here on the screen and a QR code. And then we're going to proceed to show you a little bit of a live demo on the tool by us. And of course, when everyone thinks about workshop, is it, oh, do I need my computer? Should I already start working on something? But the way that we would like to direct this workshop is that you'll see a little bit of a little camera on the top right. And this is sort of the moment where you can snap with your cell phone a picture of the screen. And then you will get some link, some QR there. So you can save up to dive later when you're already in your hacking moment, let's say. And for the rest, you can just buckle up because we're going to show you live here. And hopefully with your attention, you also get a super good overview on how these tools actually work. So we're going to start with the first one, Obsidian. And this is a tool for brainstorming that is text-based and it has a graph view. So Ashkan, if you would like to take it from here. Mm-hmm.
Hi. So with Joel, we decided, because we didn't know that who our audiences are, we wanted to know that what we can bring to this workshop. And it doesn't feel like a workshop yet, but maybe like we can get some feedback. If you feel like asking questions or interrupt us, I think it would be totally okay. But I figured that in the beginning of all the projects, there's a time that we need to kind of brainstorm, and it was a very hard time for us last year. There were 12 of us, and we wanted to make a decision. And I think this could be a good tool because we had a person actually. I don't know if he's here, Alex. He tried us to kind of map all of the ideas all together. But now with this tool, maybe everybody could have Alex in their team. So if you put your ideas in Note and then link them together, it will create this graph for you. And this is not only about a graph, it's about collaboration as well. But I think the way you visualize it, I think it helps you to go further and find your niche for your project. That's why I think it's good to just check it out. And there are many other tools. We wanted to be very agnostic and kind of generic about things. This is not agnostic. This is a very specific product. But at the same time, I think that this could be like your gateway if you haven't tried any of this to many other collaboration tools like Excalidraw or what have you.
Yep. Would you like to share show a little bit on Obsidian?
Yeah, I think I passed my 2 minutes, but
of course,
I can show it.
Yeah, maybe we can take 1 minute so they already get a feel on how this looks. Yeah. Is it on the other side? Yeah.
I think it's
modern day AEC hacking.
Exactly. Just as dirty as in reality, right? Yeah. There we go.
Oh, yeah, this. So I made it for a promotional purpose. So just copy paste some stuff from LinkedIn. But basically what you can do is just if you want to create this graph in your, I don't know, hello all. And then it will create it for you. And then if you go to this link, basically, this is it. And then whatever you create based on this idea, you don't need to go back and forth. You just need to write. It's like markdown. And then it will create, where's my hello all, that is basically connected to this text. So it will create some kind of a ecosystem for you where you can find your way around and kind of find your way like a causal loop style, which you can also change if you want to say which is caused by what exactly. And then you have this direction as well. And animation, which we really love. Okay, let's move on to the next topic.
Yes. There we go. Thank you. Are we connected back again? Exactly how a workshop should look like with a little bit of a glitch there. But then we're going to start talking about the 3 collab tools for the workshop. And again, as Ashkan mentioned, we're trying to give you agnostic solutions, which means that we are also trying to provide value to both out-of-the-box hackers, but also seasoned ones. And the way that these solutions are just examples of something that you can start to look further into when you're choosing and building up and composing your tech stack. So again, we also didn't want to tailor any specific ideas, let's say, regarding BIM or CAD or anything like this, but these are open-ended solutions as well. Just to also give you a little bit of a mood of the tools that you might be able to find while you're building your tech stack for the weekend. So the first tool that we're going to talk about is GitHub Actions. And this is a really nice example on how to implement automation. And basically, this is a feature within the GitHub environment that is helping you to build up workflows that just connect next to each other. And this is showing a little bit on the example on how we set it up for a previous project in the hackathon in the case. So it's very nice to also, in this presentation, we're going to connect to what we have done, me and Ashkan, in previous editions of the hackathon and how this actually looks in a weekend full of hacking, right? So this specific example was in my project last year, Reaper Plus. And basically, what we wanted to do is an interactive format of reporting for AEC projects, right? We wanted something dynamic. We wanted something more than a static PDF. So the way that we were working it was that leveraging on Speckle as a specific tool for gathering data, we were able to just send a stream to Speckle, generate descriptions with Gemini on the specific inputs that we were having. And using this example of a stream in Speckle, we were generating this web page that is automatically generated just when you send a stream into Speckle. And again, when we were building up the tech stack for this specific project, we were thinking about the Speckle as an ideal database for geometry. And we were also thinking about, for example, which is a specific AI tool to make descriptions out of what came out in our report. And then further down the road, we understood that we needed a specific tool to automate this process. And this is when we were thinking about, for example, which formats can we get as a markdown file, for example, for our web page. We were converting it into Jupyter Notebook as well, using Pandoc, a specific library. But then at the end, we were looking for that specific tool that could help us to deploy this into a public web page, the ones that we would be able to share with anyone that is receiving or report at the end. So then we actually found that GitHub Action was an ideal tool for us. And right now I'm going to go outside of my presentation and show you a little bit on how the deployment worked for us within Report Plus. So again, as I explained, this is part of the GitHub environment and a feature that you can find here, Actions. And again, if you take a look at what we were really doing within our hack, it was receiving data from a Speckle server and getting a Jupyter Notebook file that you can see here. For example, this was generated after we have submitted our data to Speckle, have generated our descriptions in Gemini, and then with a local host here on Visual Code, we were generating these files, both a Markdown file and a Jupyter Notebook file. We were also trying with different formats. And once we got this specific Markdown file, in this case, into GitHub, we wanted to trigger the next action, which was automatic deployment of our web page in this case. So this is how the workflow looked for us here on GitHub and with GitHub Actions. We finally built up this pages build deployment action when we are receiving the file, in this case the Markdown file, and we were using mkdocs as a tool to format our Markdown file. And then we were actually triggering the next action, which was a deployment in this specific GitHub hosted page in this case. So this GitHub action was the specific tool that helped us to push everything from a click in Speckle in your specific AEC software, which didn't really need only to be Rhino and Grasshopper in this case. That was also trying to be agnostic from our side, right? From your specific AEC software, from your click into a Speckle stream up to a automatically generated report that looks like this. So for example, a little bit on how the report looked like is that we were having this specific stream, the example that we can see from Speckle. We were generating a specific descriptions, AI-based descriptions, and then formatting all the data and different types of data as well in this automatically generated report. So every time that one is having changes in the model, we can just submit a new stream. And GitHub Actions is actually the last piece, let's say, on the whole tech stack that we built for our tool on how to automatically deploy our website. So I think this is a really nice example for us on automation. And of course, a lot of us already use GitHub on a daily basis, and how this can really integrate into our workflow of automation, how we can push it into CI and CD within the hack that we're doing in just a specific weekend. So we wanted to talk a little bit about this because I think sometimes more attention could be put actually on GitHub Actions and how we enable our workflows. And it's also trying to give a little bit of taste on what we can have if you're maybe an out-of-the-box software developer for the weekend. So yes, this is a little bit on the specific GitHub Actions perspective. And then if you have any questions, of course, feel free to let us know during the workshop. But yes, I think maybe it's around time that we continue to the second tool. I can go back into our presentation and maybe show you a little bit on the slides here on my computer, sure. And then we can switch when we want to get more hands-on.
Yeah. So this is project, also a little bit of a report to whoever were following this project from last year that we did together with this 12 people I told you about. And yeah, I think Chris and Hikmet, you are the only ones in this crowd. Just busted. So OpenDetail was a project, research project, and we brought it to Hackathon, and we wanted to work on it to make it, to get kind of passion and kind of free labor and get inspired. And I was super surprised because our cause was very pure, I would say, because we wanted to create this platform for everybody to contribute. And now as I'm talking, it's a lot of commitment to get all the infrastructure and resources, databases, and you have to pay for it. So it's good that we got some brain last year. But the main topic of what we looked into last year was we had this data structure and like things coming from stream, like the speckle stream, user input, and so on. And the question was like, what kind of database we want to use? And there were many options, and I knew maybe one, and but we wanted to explore like how things can work with OpenDetail and what OpenDetail is, and defining that. And maybe I just want to show you like the current status, and I promised Katrina, a project manager of this project, that I'm be honest with this. We've been working with the legals and people working on cloud infrastructure to make this happen. I'm hearing myself. But the platform is more or less ready as it is, and you are able to, it's a crowd system that you can just input your details and images and formats and so on. And it's supposed to be open, so anybody else, including you guys and also all the people who are there with us last year, can contribute again. But the question was, like, we have this different data schemes, and I was really into SQL databases back in days because I didn't know how to work with them. So I decided for this purpose, because they were fast and so on, I work with this cloud infrastructure, which is called Supabase, that is basically control Postgres. And Postgres is some kind of a SQL, and by SQL I mean tabular databases, that basically you have a like Excel sheet in columns. And then you have a bunch of attributes, and then you have another table, and you can connect them together. And in Postgres, there are some other functionalities, so we can give access to certain people to have like define access to a specific part of the data. So it was good to manage it in a way as well, because we wanted to create this, now it sounds very old, SaaS platform for or social media for OpenDetail. And then I wanted to show you that the sky is limit, and with all this platforms that you can use for embedding, like data embedding and turning your data into structured data, the vector databases. You can choose whatever you like to choose. But I think for this purpose, it's very important for you to understand what you want to create. If you want to create a very fast and easy solution for a very easy task, maybe you don't want to use any vector databases. But if you want to create a high performance AI application, which requires a lot of information in terms of like, you have, I don't know, we're talking a lot with my colleagues that how do we make this a specific, how do we use this a specific product in our project, like using the tool and justifying the use case of it. But I just list some of the stuff here for you to see. I don't know if you use it before. Maybe by show of hands, you show like how much you use or which one you like the most. What's your favorite database? Okay. So take a look at it, and I just try to also list some of them that have a free tier, so you can sign up. There's 500 megabytes. I don't know, one project. A Supabase. I can show you the Supabase interface that we already have for OpenDetail.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the question about your favorite database you can answer on Saturday afternoon. Yes.
So the good thing about this, because you don't want to manage your own database, and just knows what I'm talking about. You don't want to do this. You want somebody else to patch the software, take care of all the vulnerabilities and so on. But basically what this is it will give you a bunch of functionalities, a bunch of tables. I'm not going to show you the data inside because of GDPR probably. But you can have a bunch of tables, and you can have a bunch of users getting access to those. And I can show you, you can create storage. And in this storage, there is you can manipulate it, but basically there's a table that creates the Supabase. It creates it for you. So you can have this connection between these two tables together without thinking about, okay, I have this database, I have to connect it to a bucket somewhere else. Like we have all this data delivery systems and AWS or whatever. I'm not sure if I'm talking about the same thing that you're thinking about, but if you want to have something that is all managed in one place, this is, or if you want to use SQL database that you can connect, you want to authenticate user because there's a JS library, if you want to get people to upload, download stuff, this is very useful. And they have also real time, which means that they can give you trigger once somebody's uploading, and you can see the database updates on your app. Pretty cool. Just look into it if this is something interesting to you. But just so you can see what's up in detail about, I just want to show you maybe this. Yeah, and then also animation. Just want to show you the animation part as well. So there are a bunch of, you have data schemes, and you know that the user authenticate, and they all have collection. Collections are not in production yet. And collection basically means that if you like something or if you save something on LinkedIn. So this will be the equivalent on OpenDetail. And some statistics, which is not tracking users, but the details itself. And you see that how they are connected to each other. So each detail has this comment section, and all the comments are connected to the user and so on. So you can create this schema, this interconnected schema in here. And it's, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easier than if you want to start something. Look at me. It's not that easy, but I think if you want to explore it during the hackathon, definitely can learn this quickly. Yeah. Okay. Do you have a question? Yeah, please. Okay. Now I think I'm done with this. Is the next one?
Yes. We can.
Okay. Should I? Maybe I can just go in here so we don't. And these, not all the topics we put together with Joel. We wanted to. Oh yeah, sorry. Put this. We really thought about it in a way that if you want to start a project and finish it during the weekend, what do you need? And then you said, okay, you need computation. Probably the GitHub is the free version of any computation you can use. And if you don't know GitHub, probably GitHub in general, you have to know it probably because you have to share your repo at the end, and then people get access and you get prices because it's open source. And then we said we need databases because you want to store data somewhere. Could be on your computer even. Like you can host Supabase, for example, on your computer. You don't need to use their cloud as well. It's an open source project. And then you need front end. You need front end. Your front end could be Rhino, could be Revit, could be all the software you're using, AutoCAD. It could be Forma. Just want to have a shout out to the Forma team. But what I'm talking about now is JavaScript framework. It's a, like framework that everybody can use. And I just chose React because I know React and I don't know the rest. If I want to get to know them, probably I can, like any other people in this room. If you start learning it, it's just there are some principles. And I just put this in here because this was very famous back in days when I didn't want to listen to teachers talking. I was playing this 2048 a game on my phone, and this is the version of it on React if you want to take a look at it. I want to explain what I want to talk about, and then I created this web page, all with AI, yesterday and the day before, and I can show you how I did it, and then I can show you what you can copy from it. And like the copying process is basically learning. Believe me, it is. And then maybe talking a little bit of UI, and by UI elements I mean inputs, outputs, charts, and I just list a bunch of stuff. I showed this one that I really like. It was very hyped back in days, but now it's because it is deployed by one of the biggest companies in front-end infrastructure to a LLM model that can generate UI. I just put it there. And 3D in a browser, which I think some of you might be familiar with. This is from a project I did 2 years ago. It's based on Speckle Viewer, but it's WebGL 3-fiber, and 3-fiber is based on 3JS, Speckle Viewer, and that's Open Company, or I think it's called that Open Company, which I think they're doing a really good job. I should have been. Yes.
Is the reason you don't show Lovable?
Which one?
LLM model for. Regarding UI, there's a LLM model called Lovable.dev that actually links directly to Supabase and GitHub and everything like that, and you can actually develop GUIs within prompts directly input into Figma and anything like that.
This one.
I think everyone should check this out this week.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, I think what I'm talking about is a similar product, and
it is.
No, I really like to try this, definitely.
But, I tried both, and for me, I like Lovable more than React. But
what? Sorry to ask a question. But the code that generates is what platform is it? Is it agnostic or JavaScript?
It's
Tailwind and React.
Yeah.
Okay.
JS. So yeah. It generates what we could definitely work with further.
Oh, I have to say. Okay. Thank you. So I did this. I want to show you where you can find this. I deployed on Vercel. It's called AEC hack-starter.vercel.app if you want to see this. And I tried to implement a bunch of stuff into it, and I wanted to make the repository open, but because I'm very messy, I decided not to yet, and then I'll try to make this tidy tonight and then open it, and then you can copy the codes. What I used is the similar product. I don't know if you heard of it. It's V0. Not if you have heard of it. Okay, that's good, because I don't want to be repeating stuff. So basically, it's the same thing. What you can do is just you ask to create stuff, and then based on this UI I talked about, ShadCN or ShadDCN, it will create a UI for you. And then I decided to create this, and then for setting up, for this example, it's based on Next.js, which is another React framework, and tells you how to generate a Next.js project based on the latest one. This one is not based on the latest one. And I ask it to make dark mode, because everybody wants dark mode. And then a bunch of stuff. You can use, like TanStack is React again, and then it's a starter. Vue is different framework, Astro, Nox, Svelte, and I think you can name a bunch more. And for UI, this is exactly ShadCN, but with different style, which you can just copy and paste. I'm just showing you this because I want to show you how easy it is to ship something without meaning. And the whole idea is just how to find meaning during the weekend, and then you just copy paste everything from everywhere, and then prove that this can be something that you can work with, and then the rest is kind of come to you. And if you need to create a UI element, if you want to add more computation power, if you need to add anything else,
you'll add it later. But to get things together and being able to ship as fast as possible, I think it's good to understand that this used to be very hard to do, maybe 5 years ago, 4 years ago, even 2 years ago, when I think about like the first hackathon I participated. But today is just, I showed this also to some students 2 weeks ago, that it's within 5 minutes you can have a website, and by coding, not by Squarespace or Wix or something. So it's very powerful. I'm just showing you this, and you can go and explore this. Go there and explore this if you want to. So some cool UI elements and also charts. I wanted to show you like some other charts from D3 and all the libraries, but basically, and I'm showing you this because probably we're going to see a lot of KPIs doing this weekend, and LCA calculations and computation. And you know that this is also drag and drop, copy paste. You see, you can visualize whatever you want to visualize. And of course, 3D. I didn't implement any speckle because we, like Joel and I, both of us are very into a speckle in general. But this is basic 3JS, and then you can see how, like the basic, if you click on the code part, so you can see how easy the code is to just create something, work with it, and then start from that. That's why I call it starter, and see how we can create interaction, how we can play around with that, and then, of course, famous duck.
And of course, this can be as easily an iframe from Speckle, for example, as we saw in previous examples. So,
yes, I think my part is done.
Yeah.
Let's move.
Yes. So this was a little bit on the overview of the 3 tools that are Collab inherently, right? We need to automate, we need to share our data, and we need to make it accessible to the user. So of course, that's a little bit on the wrap up of our Collab tools. And then we just want to take a last mention on how all this tech stack that we can build during the weekend, of course, the important at the end is also the application, and which is the problem that we really want to solve. And we just want to take a look at one example and understand how this tech stack was sort of constructed from it, and also what we can sort of learn a little bit from it. So we want to take a look at this specific Urban GPT by Studio Teamful Labs. Very well known at this point tool that it's still to be released, but this is a project that could easily come from one of our hackathons, right? This is something that was developed as a Grasshopper-based tool that is using an LLM, in this case ChatGPT, but it's also LLM agnostic at the end, in order to model urban design. With very specific prompts, as we can say, quite responsive and quite, let's say, continuously implementing and delivering the result. The UI that was used here is, of course, the Rhino viewport, but I think like what's very interesting also for me as with a background in architecture and urban design specifically is the importance of the problem that they are solving with this tool, because they decided that they wanted a quick sketching tool that could be as responsive as we have the capabilities right now with implementing an LLM that does this, for example. And understanding the potential that this tool has, we can have a lot of questions about the proposals that we are having and the sustainability behind it and whatnot. But I think at the end, the problem that we are solving is quick sketching. And we're really getting very far from a tool like this. So again, it's putting the focus on the problem that we are trying to solve with the tech stack that we're giving you some examples on how you could build up during this weekend. So what we, of course, if we take a look at the other tools that are similar, even from STF Labs or Hypertext to BIM, also we wanted to have a takeaway from Ashkan that it's don't use the tool just because it's popular, but you just also need to find your match to specifically what you need. And that's very important, because here we can see how a specific design tool can also be LLM agnostic, using ChatGPT or DeepSeek, for example, and seeing which one actually matches best the result that you want to have or the intentions that you want to have. So again, it's very much up to you finding the specific match for the problem that you want to solve, and also even for the capabilities of your own team, because it's very important to leverage what you have in your own team. And then, of course, you can tailor everything according to that. So don't use a tool just because it's popular. You will find a match during the weekend. And I think this is everything that we want to sort of wrap up with. I think after the workshop and the tech awards, we will focus on which is the problem that we want to solve. And I think this is the key point, most likely, of the hackathon, because you can have a very impressive tech stack, but maybe the problem, it could be more relevant or less relevant, or less, as Julie said, for example, better communicated or not better communicated. So the important thing is focus on the problem, and then you will compose the tech stack to solve this specific thing until Sunday afternoon. So we're very looking forward to see what you come up with. And yes, I think this is all from me and Ash.
And if you have any questions.
Any questions? We still do have a little time, and I think this workshop may even deserve a couple of questions, good ones. It was very inspiring. So any from the audience have something to ask our two presenters about 3 cool examples? Think about it before you come to it. I have just a conclusion. I heard you talking a little bit about this idea that you shouldn't necessarily attend a hackathon and then expect that you'll just wait and build up the most awesome hack by the last minute, but you should actually try and build a little bit on the go. Could you elaborate a little bit about why it's important to get started and not wait too long?
I think, I already get discouraged when I think about big stuff. Like if you want to build something that you know it's gonna be hard, which I have an idea for this weekend, and I know it's a little bit hard, and I'm already discouraged. But I get encouraged when I see people know how to make things work, not just to it's not ready to be used or anything, but it's just a matter of I want this to work as minimum as possible for a very specific purpose. And I think that gets you going and then gets you motivated. And I think the benefit all these AI LLM models and all these tools is they encourage you to make more. And I don't like to use this word to be productive, but it makes you actually productive to the borderline crazy. Well, you want to just create and create. But I think it's a good thing because now you know that your idea is not good. Like after, I don't know, working an hour and you say that your idea is not even good. But before it was like I'm working for 2 months and my idea is not good. And what do I do with myself? So I think it's important that we know this way earlier then we can switch lanes and find better solutions for whatever we want to do.
That's just very important advice for anybody attending a hackathon for the first time. Do we have any good questions in the audience? I don't think so. Thank you guys so much for showing up today. We'll have a quick break, but let's first give Joel and Ashkan a hand. Thank you guys. 5 minutes break and we'll go on with the Tech Awards for 2025.
Yes.
Check. Guys, I would advise everyone standing in the members' lounge at the moment to join us in here for the prestigious Tech Award Show 2025. Nils from HD Lab, Ole Barat from Molio, and also from HD Lab, James. You have joined us this year again to continue this tradition of doing this this award show. I've been looking so much forward. So 4 categories and
a ferry.
I think it's yeah.
Try that one more time.
Yeah, try and mute it. I'll find a new one for you, James. But without further ado, it gave the audience a little bit more time to find them. There's also some seats over here, guys. Just please join us.
You good now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, guys, take it away.
Can we jam? Can we get our slides on the screen thingy? Yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the annual AEC Hackathon Tech Award that we humbly, I think it's the 5th or the 6th time that we've done this. Damon may remember, maybe not, something like that. When it's more than 3, it's a tradition. Isn't that the way it goes? But welcome. We're super happy that we've been allowed to do it again this year. We tried to make it a little bit fun and not too stuffy and formal. Also because we wanted to reflect the quality of the prizes that are mostly honorable. But we have some trophies, and Dansk Industri have also given some wine gifts. We've not dared to open it yet, but maybe you can make a nice sauce on it or something like that. I don't know. It could be that it's good. It's Søren who was supposed to be at. But at least there's prestige in coming something from Dansk Industri. It's a formal win then, right? We do it, of course, to have fun before the hackathon and the hard work starts. But we also do it because we think we should have a time a year where we celebrate the construction technology people. We think that they don't get enough credit. We think that they don't get paid enough. We think that they don't get enough success. But there's a ton of people, most of you here, that are working to make construction a more tech-driven industry, and most are actually driven not from greed, but from wanting to make it a better industry where people have better products and better days. So it's probably the most noble people in the industry that we see here, and we want to celebrate, especially the ones that are providing us the technology and using their own money and their late nights to try and give us some tools that we can use to push the industry with. The way it works is that we have put out over the last couple of months on the LinkedIn, on the intraweb, postings about this award, and then everybody can anonymously go in and nominate somebody, and then we have a jury that sits down and look at the nominations and pick the top nominees and actually also the winners. And it's not, I can show you the jury here. It's me. That's a very youthful picture of me. It's Ole Barat. It's James, and it's Søren. Yeah, we need to get new pictures. I think we look a little. This is way too good marketing. That's 10 years and 10 kilos ago, and it's at least one haircut away for Ole. James, you look pretty much the same. And Søren, he's unfortunately sick and is at home with the flu, just like half the rest of the Danish population these days. The 4 categories that we have that you can vote on the internet is most sustainable tech, new AI tech. It's not best new AI tech. It's just new AI tech.
I think AI was new at the time.
It's best design and build technology, and then most nerdy company. And there is, of course, equal prestige in all of them, but the most prestigious one is actually to be the most nerdy company. Definitely. And that has gone to Niras and Teknologisk and Molio. Mole, you got it 1 year, yeah. We're wanting to take that back, actually, since you turned out to be not that nerdy. But those are the 4 categories that we have. In total, we got people weren't necessarily very strict when they typed in. Somebody only nominated 1 company, some nominated 4. Somebody nominated themselves in all 4 categories a number of times. It kind of shows up in the spreadsheet when you look at it. But we think that's cool. I actually wrote that out also. You can nominate yourself. You can vote for yourself more than once. We just subtract a little bit when we do the math afterwards and go. But we got 138 nominations. Some of them were a couple of the same companies, but for all categories, all companies, it was about 138. And we looked at what was the most popular and also who do we think deserve to be celebrated today. Yes. So, are we ready? Should we start? Yeah?
Yeah. Nice.
And I can see I'm actually the one who's starting here. So the first category is most sustainable tech. This is a fairly new category. I think we've had it 2 years now. But last year there weren't a lot of nominees, but this year it was actually a quite packed field. So that shows that there's a lot more technology coming into this space. There are 3 companies that got the nomination. It's Revalue. If you don't know, it's a database for material data, and they have made nice packages of different types of materials that go together. So it's a good tool for both architects and engineers and clients to sit and look at the CO2 values and the sustainability of different products. It's a real-time LCA, which is an automated LCA calculator that works very well with models. So it automates a ton of the work that otherwise is in punching numbers into LCAs and doing all the calculations, which allows us to spend our time on looking at more scenarios and getting closer to what we want to do in the projects. And then it's Supply. That's a platform that supports circular construction. It's for mapping and tracking and finding materials that we can use to urban mine and be built into to the structures. So those are the 3 nominees. I actually don't think any of these nominated themselves, just to be absolutely clear. We'll make sure to tell you who did. Yeah, let's look at it. What do we usually do? And the winner is real-time LCA. Way!
Do they want to?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Very good. We have a trophy for you. Yeah.
Wow, like Yay.
If you want to say a few words, you can.
Yeah, I'd love to actually, because I got really mad at awards actually. Last year we kept sending
great opening
all kinds of awards we could find. We made an application, we sent it across, and we got a couple of finalist positions, and then I got really mad. I was like, we're not doing an award again. And then all of a sudden Nils sends me an email and he's like, maybe you want to show up on Friday. I was like, we didn't nominate, we didn't vote. So that's the trick. Don't nominate, don't vote, and then you end up with an award. We were asked to say a couple of things, why is it important, and also why we think people nominated and selected us. And with regards to the importance, like climate impact effect is obvious for everybody. There's also a lot of statistics. Like we ran for 800,000 years with around 300 parts per million in CO2 emissions. And since 1911, that's grown by like 50%. So industrialization really kicked off this whole climate situation that we're in. Is one side of the equation, which may be more on the purpose side of things. And on the practical side of things, regulatory requirements are increasingly growing, not only in Denmark, but across Europe, and in California, they've also introduced some thresholds. So we're seeing professionals in Denmark and around the world needing to work more efficiently with LCA calculations. And that's what we're committed to. We're a team of 14. spread across Germany, Denmark, and Jutland.
Denmark and Jutland.
And that's kind of, I think, the importance of the mission that we have is really empowering professionals to build sustainably with proper insights. And with regards to why we're here.
Yeah, I can say something about why are people choosing to use our platform. I think one of the crucial things for us is that we want to basically give time back to you as a designer, as an engineer, or whatever it be, because it doesn't really affect low emission carbon houses if we just sit there and punch numbers like Niels was saying. So we're actually here to help you to become a better designer and to actually be able to challenge the challenge that we have ahead of us. So that's kind of one of the things, and also coming back to some of the things that we really care about is we want to listen to you designers, to engineers. One great example I can come up with it. I'm just an average Rhino user, so I'm not the guy who should tell how should a Rhino connector to our platform look like. So we actually invited some of the most prominent users of Rhino and Grasshopper from the industry to be a part of a Rhino user group meeting. And from that, we learned, there are different differences between how each architectural firm or engineering firm operates. But we were, in the end, keen to find a middle way and everything that suited everyone. So it's just to say that we really listen a lot to the users, because it's basically what, like we said, it's breakfast of champions. We want to live based on that. So yeah, thank you again.
Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
Geehrte Dr. Berat.
Oh, yes. And here it's best AI tech.
Oops.
Yes, so next category, best AI tech. We got a lot of nominations in this category. Not all of the nominees we looked into were actually AI, so we had to filter quite a few to make sure that they really make substantial use of AI. So again, we have 3 nominees, and the first one is Property AI. Property AI is actually, I think, a platform out of this building here. At least started that journey also in Blocks Hub. It is as the name says, it's a what's it called? A facility maintenance AI, properties operation AI that helps with maintenance of. It uses AI to help with maintenance of buildings. The second nominee is Hyper. Hyper is a platform that helps with interior design, and the AI part of it is the text to BIM. So you can prompt it to create models, which you then can put into Revit to fix the interior design. And the final one is the final nominee is Maker BIM. A little bit puzzled about it, but thought it was an interesting idea. So Maker BIM takes 2D drawings, takes 2D PDFs, and makes a BIM model. Makes a BIM model out of them. I wanted to say again, but also takes 2D drawings that don't come from BIM and makes a model out of it, an IFC model out of it. So drum roll. And the winner is...
First you get a trophy, then you get a bottle of wine, and then you get a microphone.
You can hold this one.
There you go.
Awesome. So we actually have a shelf at our office for trophies.
Ooh.
And this will be the first one filled. So I think we kind of had the same experience that we got a message from Niels saying we were nominated, saying that we made the final cut, and that we fucking won. How cool is that? So yeah, we celebrated and brought almost the entire team here today because, of course, it's a team effort. And I think we were sort of asked to prepare some of the same questions, and one of them, why do we think we were nominated? And well, I think a couple of things. One is that we built Property AI not just from sort of a log basement, but we actually used the ecosystem to co-build it. So we got data from 12 million square meters to start up and actually start sort of structuring the data, right, Johanna? And then start building the models. So I think that's for one. Another thing is also I think there's a lot of opinions about use cases of artificial intelligence, and a lot of them has also maybe not really proven value, but I think that we have so far so good actually proven that we can build a business on artificial intelligence and make it actually work out in the real world, and I think that's really cool. And what we're looking at and sort of hoping for is actually that we, by the end of the first quarter, is cash positive. That means that we actually start getting revenue that can pay for the entire team. So I think that's also a testament that it's actually a case that lives out there. Any of you want to comment on, because the second question was, why do we matter and why are we important? What do we think we're important? And I think one of the things we have, this is the founder team, Ian and Mikkel and myself, and we've gone through a discussion. Would the world actually, be a much worse place if we didn't exist? And we actually believe that we are making an impact, and we are sort of always calibrating to our priorities and what we do. Do we still believe we make an impact? Because if we don't, we should just close shop. I think that's why we should exist and keep existing. And I don't know, maybe we also talked about our mission, and Ian, maybe you will also why we are important and what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah. I think there's lots of problems to solve, and right now we're tackling the problem of understanding the condition of buildings and how to maintain them. And very soon we also hope to tackle the problems of sustainability, which are there's a lot of problems there to solve, and we're excited to get started on that journey and see where it goes.
I think also on like a fundamental level, there's a need to improve the data transparency and the general assistance of tasks using data and AI and statistics in the property business. So that's a thing we're trying to do as well.
And you're leading the way, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Is it me?
Did I again? Solving actual problems will make you cash positive and win you awards. Food for thought.
I think I'm most nerdy.
Okay. Oh, I
think you now have to pretend that Ole, who is actually German, is a nice guy from DI.
Yeah, and actually prepared for the wrong category. I can see now. So let's see what comes up. So the smaller coordination issues. So the next category is best design build. It's best design build tech. And the first nominee is Trackside. And Trackside is a software to automate time tracking for construction sites. And then there is Rayon, that is a new 3D BIM design tool.
In the web.
It's
web-based.
It's web-based. I just learned. And then we have Dialog's Sidewalk, which is a feature in Dialog's where you can use your 360 camera to capture the progress or to capture the building. And if you want to know more about Dialog Sidewalk, then those guys can tell you a little bit more. And the winner is Trackside.
Yay! Also good that you're 3 people because it's 1 trophy and 1 microphone and.
Thank you very much. This will be first of many trophies we're bringing home to the offices. So I'm the guy from the construction industry. So I'm actually the guy raising all the problems. I've teamed up with 2 guys that are actually solving all the problems. So it's a fair way to split it up. I've been in construction for 15 years now, and we're facing a lot of problems, not just with time tracking. We're solving problems with a lot of document handling and legal paperwork before you can enter into construction sites in Denmark. So yeah, we're looking forward to this journey we're going on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Really nice prize. It's not as heavy as it looks. So I've been building software for 20 years and I've exited 6 companies. So the reason why I joined Mark and Mads's project is I really believe in tracking time on each construction site is a real big problem today. Many of you have probably seen DR showing up really bad cases on the different construction sites. And I can see that especially, Mads and Mark really are solving that issue with really nice usability, and they have the understanding of how the construction sites really work. And you can look that at Mark. He's really a construction site guy. And he is the nerdy brother, right?
Yeah, that's right. Thanks. First of all, thank you. Just to put it very short, I think we are trying to put trust back into an industry which, due to media and, of course, real cases, are lacking a bit of trust right now. And we want to put that trust back in the industry in an easy way for both the main contractors, but all the suppliers as well, so that everybody agrees that we have one set of data, and that set of data is the truth, instead of, as it is now, maybe 15 set of data in one site. And then you have to negotiate, or you have to discuss, or be friendly, be not friendly, and also that. Yeah, so thank you very much.
Not sure if this mic is working, so I'm going to try this one. Next up, we have the most nerdy company, so I think this is quite fitting in the context of a hackathon and in the spirit. So, this year, we have nominated Drone Check. Drone Check is a drone inspection company. They fly drones over buildings and check for damage in the facade and in the roof, and they can give you sort of 3D models based on that. In my experience, using BIM, it's great to just have this real-world reference when you're trying to model something, and I think it's going to be really important in the future for all these transformation projects as we renovate buildings more rather than building new. Next up, we have Christian Kongsgaard. Christian is a fantastic talent. He's been developing LCA-X right now, which is like an open data transfer format for transferring LCA data, material data, assembly data. And I think it's open source, which is fantastic in the spirit of a hackathon. And in our industry, we've been seeing like a lot of, a lot of people going out on their own and starting their own companies. And I think it's a testament to the ecosystem around Copenhagen in AEC Tech that this is possible. So great to see Christian nominated. And third, we have Nordify. So Nordify are a sort of knowledge sharing company. They will help you as an individual or as a company to learn new tech skills. So on their website right now, they have courses where you can learn about Rhino inside Revit, something I'm a big fan of with Eliana. You can also learn AI visualization workflows, which I think are going to become a huge part of architectural and AEC practice in the next couple of years. So Nordify are, doing some fantastic work in that space. sharing the knowledge. And so last year we had Cobod winning the award, which is a 3D concrete printing, like construction scale company based here in Copenhagen. So the winner will be in good company. And can I get a drum roll going, maybe? Okay, so the winner of the Most Nerdy Company 2025 is Nordify. There you go.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you. Well, for us, it was also a surprise. I didn't know you could be a nerdy company, so that was quite new. I also received a message from Niels. Thank you for the introduction. I mean, we focus on integrating generative AI into the design process, so we are not necessarily a product-oriented firm, as you've seen from the other nominees. We try to help companies and individuals in the journey of understanding, demystifying generative AI, and we have been together for 2 years. Actually, almost 2 years to the date, because 2 years ago I was the jury again of the hackathon, and it was still a secret that the company was being launched. We have 5 guys: Pedro, Ricardo, Amir, and Mauricio. And we focus a little bit between chatbots and diffusion models, and it has been quite an interesting process. Thank you also to Blocks Hub that has helped us throughout the process, and to these guys here as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thiago, can I share the story about how you replied to the email?
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
So I got a text message back. Did I just get an email from you? All right. Yeah. Is it real? Yeah. We thought it was a phishing attempt or April 1st. It's like, no, we actually won an award.
So the story is that we have been super busy, and Ricardo is not even here today, my co-founder. And then I got this mail, and I screamed through it, and it was like, and we have been discussing about collaborations in the future, and I'm going to be the jury of the hackathon again. I thought it was something about being the jury, so I kind of read the mail like this, and I was like, wait, what? What is this about? And I just took a screenshot and sent to Ricardo, and then it's like, I think it's fake. So I just sent it.
Yeah. I thought Ricardo said I was fake, but that would make more sense. Yeah, but next time I promise there will be a link in the bottom where I'll steal all your personal information and your credit card information. All that. Thank you very much, guys. We also have a tradition of doing honorable mentions. I don't know how honorable it is to not even be. Yeah. So the pyramid is a little bigger. But there were some names that showed up a number of times. And we actually also looked a little bit to the old spreadsheet from last year. They had also shown up there. So we don't have an award for them. We don't have a nomination for them. But we thought they should be mentioned anyway. And the 4 companies are SiteHub that got mentioned a number of times. If you don't know them, they do digital-based logistics and site maintenance. It was Henning Larsen that have been nominated every time we've had and they also have won a couple of times. I think it's very much the crew around the computational design guys. And then it's a MetaBuild that we actually didn't know, but looked into, and it's like a digital twin tool that I can only advise you to go have a look at. And then last but not least, it was Smidhammer and Lassen who got mentioned, but it was specifically Victor and Dan. So, so they should, work. Yeah, good work. So they should actually be mentioned. We can clap, and we can look straight in the camera and say, "You almost made it." Thank you very much. Thanks for playing along. We're done. That's all the awards we had this year. That's all the wine we had this year. But we hope that we see you again next year if Aske lets us come back and play. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, the most awesome thing about this is that it's about making sure that the community actually has something to win every year, and it really makes something extra to our event. So thank you also for being part of this, guys. And I'll just encourage anybody in the audience and also the guys on the stream, please do nominate your favorite tech and companies next year. We are surely doing this again. So thank you, guys. Next up is a break, and we will have all of the registrations hopefully done at 6 o'clock. So make sure to go to the counter and register for the actual hackathon at 6 o'clock at the latest. Thank you again. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Var det fedt? Jeg kan godt sige til jer, I skal varme den der 3D-printer op. Jeg skal have et trofæ inden. Tomorrow, to continue our AEC hackathon. For now, we are going to do the registrations. It's a mandatory step in the process to make sure that everybody is onboarded correctly. And then the actual hacking starts. So tomorrow, 1 o'clock, we'll do 12:30. From 12:30, we'll do the tech talks. And then again, on Sunday from 1 o'clock, we'll do the judging, the presentations, and the pricing ceremony. Join us. Stay tuned. Thank you.